Welcome into a shocking emergency, holy hell, what is happening version of Beyond the Arc. I'm Bill Reiter. My buddy and co-host John Gonzalez is not here right now. No, we're going to be back. I think this is all happening very quickly tomorrow for a more robust version of the conversation about the blockbuster trade that just went down. The primary part of this is that Anthony Davis is going to be a Maverick. LeBron James' new partner will be Luka Doncic. The Jazz are involved too. We'll let producer Aaron here in a second weigh in with the actual details. I've been doing some reporting. So here is what I am being told this means. And you may have had the exact same reaction. By the way, you should subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcast. Give us a favorable 5-star review. If you're watching on YouTube and we're live right now, you can push the little alert button. It'll let you know when we're up. Although I'm not sure we'll ever be up again at any time covering the NBA, at least in a long time, with a deal that is this shocking. My initial reaction, now Shams reported and broke this first. My initial reaction was obviously, what the actual bleep is happening? Has Shams been hacked? And then other folks confirmed it. I was able to confirm it. I've got a series of text messages that are still coming in, so I'm going to go through some of these and just give you a sense of what's going on. Now, John Gonzalez, who's my co-host, we don't usually drop swear words here on the show. And producer Aaron can actually weigh in. I'm going to drop John's swear words. I think this is a big enough show.
Yeah, I think it's warranted this time. Yeah.
So Luka Doncic, who has been injured and is nearing a return, is going to be a Laker. And Anthony Davis, who's a remarkable basketball player, and I'm sure thought he was the long-term partner in crime, the Robin to the Batman of LeBron James, however long LeBron was going to play, is being shipped out to Dallas.
Yeah, and signed an extension, by the way. AD just signed an extension with the Lakers recently. Yeah.
It's very – I did a story the other day on De'Aaron Fox and how basically the sort of machinations of that and why you don't do no trade clauses, also involving Bradley Beal. And basically an agent said to me, everybody's trying to avoid being the next Blake Griffin, but it's why you don't give no trade clauses. In some ways, that is Anthony Davis today. John Gonzalez's reaction, I think, is a reaction we all had. And this is for the record. His take is, his take. What the actual fuck is happening? Okay, fair response. Here's what I'm being told, and credit where it's due. Producer Aaron speculated on this first, and then people sent notes. So here's what's going on. Luka Doncic is under contract this year, the remainder of next year. I believe, Aaron, player option in the summer of 26. Just correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, correct. He has one more year in the $43 million range next season, and then has a player option following that at, I believe, $47 million for the 26-27 season that he's clearly not going to pick up.
Right. League source of mine who had talked to me about the De'Aaron Fox situation. Not as big a deal, not as significant, but the same sort of political maneuverings here. And by the way, also Rich Paul as an agent, who is the agent to Anthony Davis and the agent to LeBron James, hit me up and said, I have some of these coming in, and said, this is just like De'Aaron Fox. It is an agent giving a team a heads up for different reasons, but giving a team a heads up. Look, we like you. This is a speculation. Luka likes you. Luka loved being a Maverick. He is going to be a Laker. He's not going to sign the Supermax. He's not going to be here for the long haul. Get the best return you can. It doesn't have to be now, is what was speculated by somebody that I think would know, but he's going to go somewhere else. And so the Lakers were in the position that the Kings are currently in, which was, okay, we've got, the Mavericks are in the position. We've got to go out. We've got some runway. We have to get this done. And they have a backdoor channel, obviously, to Anthony Davis, because you don't want this to get out. This is, in part, I'm told, Luka Doncic being honest. I'm going to be a Laker eventually, and I don't want to stay in Dallas, but trying to do it in a way that is conciliatory, as much as that can happen in a divorce. That is not an ultimatum. That is not Carmelo Anthony from several years ago and many other players saying, I want out, trade me now, get me the hell out of here. And some of that is because the leverage is a little bit different without the way the CBA works, and it's hard to move these deals, and it's just, there isn't the same level of apron teams, right? Just the apron space you have limits the number of teams you want to go where you want to go. And obviously you can reach out as a back channel to Rich Paul, who can maybe facilitate this on behalf of the Lakers side. He's a very savvy agent. So Aaron, the speculation, and then I texted this to another source who would know, connected to one of the teams in this trade, and they wrote back exactly what happened. So what's going on here? And I'm curious your take, because my first reaction, look, this is a bad day for the Dallas Mavericks. Mavericks fans, this is a bad day for you. And John and I will dive into this tomorrow. There are interesting questions about the Lakers defense. There are interesting questions about, if how long does it take Luka and LeBron James to coalesce? LeBron, I covered this team. Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh. It took them about 28 to 40 games to really get on the same page.
And
there is no
to this exact point. A lot of the problem at the beginning, I think in their first season, those Heat started 8-9, I believe, in their first 17 games.
They did. In fact, LeBron tried to get Eric Spoelstra fired.
Correct.
And Riley, his stubbornness then, I covered that team, yeah. So, look, there's no guarantee this is going to work for the Lakers now. It is a win for the Lakers today. If you want to do this in a vacuum, wherever you're watching, and thank you, by the way, please subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, and it sounds like there's a lot of you, thank you. Appreciate you hanging out late at night. It's really late on the East Coast. There's no guarantee it works for the Lakers immediately. Maybe they'll gel. Maybe they'll vibe. Maybe they'll find a rhythm very quickly. If they do, they're going to be really, really good. But this gives the Lakers, because LeBron thinks he has a window of another year or two. They, at a minimum, get to play together this year. LeBron, I'm told, did not think that they were a championship level team this season. So this is a chance to win now. And it also gives them the chance, Luka and LeBron, Luka's back soon, to play some games together over the course of this year. And if it doesn't quite click now, the expectation, and I think it's the right expectation from the Lakers, is it will work next year. From Dallas's perspective, in a vacuum, Aaron, I'm sure it's a disaster. It is but you have to understand the context.
Right.
If you're the Mavericks, right, and you are told, this is what I'm told happened. If you are told, look, and not as an ultimatum, he's made the decision. Luka wants to be a Laker. He's going to go somewhere else. Get a deal done. And I think more of these details will come out from other folks in other places. I don't know, Aaron. Even if you wait till the summer, are you getting – and Kyrie Irving's still under contract. They're hoping to do something now. When Kyrie sort of ages out of being impactful, they're going to have to sort of reinvent themselves around Anthony Davis. But it's a shitty day, excuse my language, CBS, for the Mavs. But I think it's as good a deal, isn't it, as you can get under these circumstances, even if you waited the summer.
So that's fascinating, right? That's the fascinating part of it, because obviously it has to be AD, right? Because of the salary restrictions. You've done a lot of reporting about how the new CBA and the first apron and second apron has been impacting the Jimmy Butler stuff, the Bradley Beal stuff, and et cetera.
That no trade clause from hell coming up the works for Jimmy Butler. Yep.
So, I mean, I guess if he's going to go to the Lakers, it kind of has to be Anthony Davis, right? To get the salary matching to work, it's going to have to be Anthony Davis. The part that's confusing to me, and I've seen some reporting out there yet. I mean, all of this is kind of fluid, and everybody's kind of, yourself included, are kind of digging in and trying to figure out what's going on here. But from all indications, it is the Mavs that actually reached out to the Lakers.
Yeah, that's what I was told too.
Yeah. And maybe they had some frustrations with Luka.
Let me just jump in though, because yes, but as you know, Rich Paul is able. I'm sure the Mavs technically reached out, and maybe they just reached out, but there's a back channel there too that can kind of. I am sure the Lakers were reached out to. That reporting looks pretty solid. But how do you vet LeBron first? Well, you have a shared agent. So I'm speculating, but I imagine Rich Paul was able to reach. I'm sure Rich Paul was able to basically tell the Mavericks, hey, LeBron's on. Right. Once LeBron's on board, it's already done. Even if Jeannie and Rob Pelinka don't know. Right.
You know, you covered LeBron. We're on the beat for a while. Part of the reason, maybe a lot of the reason why you're here talking to us now is LeBron is the rising tide that lifts all.
Yeah, it's true.
Both.
No, it's
real. And another person in that sphere is Dave McMiniman, who said on X recently that LeBron, and look, as well as anyone, LeBron is a master of creating narrative, shifting blame. LeBron is claiming he didn't know. I don't know that we believe him, but that's what that is what he's claiming.
I used to tell people I was 5'10". I mean, we lie. People lie. People lie about. Here's something else I want to point out. This is there's like a ton of you here watching. Thank you. Welcome to Beyond the Arc. John Gonzalez and I do this podcast every day during the week at 12 Eastern live on YouTube. You can get it, of course, wherever you get your podcasts. We're doing the emergency pod now. Anthony Davis been traded for Luka Doncic. So thank you for and other pieces. Thanks for being here. Can I say this too, Aaron? Because this is interesting. And some of this is just me just trying to say to Lakers fans, you owe me an apology, even though nobody cares. But I think it's interesting. And you may remember this because you're very connected to the league and the Lakers. So remind me if you know. I had heard from multiple people a year or two ago, I just can't remember which one, that LeBron was sort of fed up with Anthony Davis. It was kind of over AD. Mm-hmm. Now, the context of the multiple people I talked to was, look, don't go out there and say he wants him traded. Don't go out there and say he's good. It was just LeBron's fed up with him. It's something to keep an eye on. And LeBron, and this is not an insult, I can be this way, my wife can be this way, but LeBron can be moody. That is a thing that is sort of known about, like, a lot of human beings. So sometimes when LeBron is down on somebody, maybe it passes. But the first thing I thought, Aaron, was, and I don't know if it was a year or two ago, is sort of saying on CBS Sports HQ, which is our live streaming network, I'm not saying he's going to be traded. Just keep an eye on this. This is something that I've heard. And that, I think, is clearly true. They're obviously not the best friends in the world. He wouldn't let them go if they were. But and there's no, look, if you're watching, this is not reported. I'm just telling you, somebody who's covered LeBron James. And as Aaron said, and I know LeBron and other people around him wouldn't be here if I hadn't covered him starting back in 2010 with the Heat, moved to Miami for that. There is no chance on earth that LeBron didn't know in advance. And by the way, that's okay. I have a wife who Aaron used to manage 100 people. And the really horrible thing about it, sometimes you have to fire people in jobs like that. All managers, if you're watching, know this. You can't always tell the truth, right? You can't. Someone says, am I getting laid off on Thursday with the layoffs? You have to lie. Right. Not a criticism of LeBron. Power sometimes comes with the professional responsibility to withhold information. But there's no, I think this is, I'm speculating now. I'm speculating. Other people around the NBA are speculating. I'm getting another one here. Yeah, this is speculation. But here's another one that basically is saying, this guy's watching, basically is saying, look, LeBron knew they had to have. Of course. They're not going to reach out to Jeannie Buss or Rob Pelinka because it can get out, right? And that's but Rich Paul is savvy. He is respected. He's cutthroat and all the good. He's an assassin, all the good ways. He's an assassin, and you can trust him to keep this. And what's interesting though is, like, I wonder if Anthony Davis had a heads up. This is the thing about being rep by Rich, and Rich is amazing. LeBron's always going to come first.
Yeah, right? So there's so much here, and we take a break in a second because I think we need to get into the Dallas side of this.
Yeah, let's do it.
But to your point earlier, and then I wanted to respond to something you said earlier, but to the last point that you just made about the relationship between LeBron and AD, I'm around the Lakers a lot, and it was well known a couple years ago, as you mentioned, that LeBron was frustrated with AD, and that stemmed from LeBron questioning AD's commitment upon returning after the Lakers won the championship.
That's right.
And the work that AD was putting in to be ready to start seasons, the next couple seasons.
That's right.
It reached a head 2 years ago, as you mentioned. But the fascinating part about this, and we can go to break after this, but the fascinating part about this, if that was LeBron's primary concern with AD, who is he getting now, right? He is getting somebody that, if you believe the reports, and if you believe some of the talk coming out of Dallas, maybe part of their frustration with Luka was his lack of commitment to conditioning.
I will say this. That is a totally legitimate complaint and critic. You know what? Can we break and pick this up on the other side? Because I have a thought on this.
Absolutely. Let's do it.
We're going to get into the sort of, let's just say what it is. Luka's too fat, or Luka's not in shape criticism. And I think there's an important asterisk here. And we'll do that when we come back in a moment on a bat bleep crazy emergency politician to be on the arc. We'll be right back.
Gives it to Jenkins for the championship. A 16 beats a 1. From sweet to elite to the Final Four.
All right, welcome back into Beyond the Arc. I'm Bill Reiter. I'm the NBA insider at CBS Sports. My co-host John Gonzalez, obviously not here right now, but we're going to be up tomorrow as well with another more robust version of this podcast. So check that out too. You can subscribe to Beyond the Arc wherever you get your podcasts. We do this 5 days a week. We're really proud of it. We think you'll like it if you're just finding us right now, because this insane Anthony Davis is now a Maverick, or going to be soon when it goes through, and Luka is going to be a Laker news. And forgive me for looking down. I'm texting a bunch of sources. I'm getting a bunch of information. That's interesting, Aaron. I had not heard that. I have not seen that. Obviously, I've been working and trying to text people about Luka and the Mavs being a little put out with his conditioning. Can I give you my first two reactions? These are reactions. This isn't reporting.
Please. Yeah, please.
First reaction is that is some bullshit. I got to stop swearing to CBS. I'm sorry, CBS.
I mean, we've cracked the seal at this point, so go for it. I'll let YouTube go. We're good.
I've got water being delivered. There we go. I mean, this is, you have to manage this, right? You have to this is a generational talent walking out the door. Whatever the context, and the context I gave you earlier is right. I think that Luka basically presented, I'm going to leave and get the best deal he can. In that context, not pretty good job, but I think that's number one. This is some, I don't buy it. Two is, conditioning matters. There are just a few athletes, and there aren't many. There are a few athletes just on the face of the earth who, I don't know, you're drinking beer and you're eating burgers as you're conditioning. Nikola Jokic, who cares? Great. Do you go to be the guy from the bowling league. Luka's the same thing for me, Aaron.
It's reasonable. Yeah.
He's generational.
So I will say this, though. He was thought of as a guy that wasn't in great shape when he came to the league, but I just saw something on social media in the last day or two that was showing highlights of his rookie year, and he is legitimately probably 40 pounds lighter. And for somebody, it doesn't matter how good he is, right? Because he's still the third or fourth best player in the NBA. But he does have a history now of a lot of soft tissue injuries. So if that's a contributing factor to his
But he's 25.
Play, yeah, right. Not his play, but his injuries. Yeah,
that's fair.
It is. I don't know if it's a red flag, but it's orange.
But Anthony Davis is not exactly, Cal Ripken.
That's right. This year, last year, he's been very durable.
No, right.
But previously, you're absolutely right.
Here's what I'll say, Luke. Here's the thing about why I think you're right, and no deal other than maybe getting LeBron or drafting Michael Jordan back in the day is perfect. It's just, but the reason this is close is Luka's not just, a 25-year-old star. He's I think he is a generational talent, and he's going to be the face of the Lakers. If the reporting is accurate, and I think it is, if he's coming here because he wants to be here and wants to be here post LeBron. That's what's going on.
Seems likely.
You do. I mean, why not do it now? I mean, why not?
And it's been right. This entire trade deadline for the Lakers, it's been how do they allot the limited resources they have to improve the team, right?
They never could without trading AD or LeBron.
It's the true first round picks, and they got some second round picks, and what do you do with these is it Rui? These various salaries, Vando that nobody wants, Gabe Vincent that nobody wants. The untold part of this, or the uncommon part that maybe we should discuss, or maybe you and John could get into tomorrow, is the Lakers still have one of the first round picks. That's the craziest part to me. How did Dallas not get both picks?
Well, and here's the thing about it. It's a great point. And why don't you read the trade here in a second? But I want to respond to that because I think the other interesting thing about this is the pressure. Look, you just got LeBron James, Luka Doncic, so he should be pretty satisfied. But now the calculus of the Lakers up until an hour ago, and by the way, welcome to Beyond the Arc. I'm Bill Reiter. You're listening to producer Aaron, John Gonzalez, and I are on live tomorrow as well at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So I think we're going to hit this live and do another one. The timeline, all of the sort of the gravity of every decision with the Lakers up until an hour and a half ago, Aaron, as you know, was we have to win in this window now. And so these picks don't matter if they don't bring in someone from LeBron James. So picks when LeBron may not be here don't matter. And whatever moves we make or whatever we have to give away in the medium or short or long term doesn't matter. All that matters is the short term. This also shifts the timeline because you're building around Luka Doncic now, not 100%. LeBron James. 100%. Luka Doncic is now the best player on the Lakers today. Correct. Today's not LeBron James. And I think it's going to work. I mean, the usage rate that Luka, when he's healthy, puts up, the amount of time he has the ball in his hands, that's so much less wear and tear for a 40-year-old guy who doesn't have to play point LeBron either.
It's a great point. It dovetails to what I wanted to mention right before we went to break a few minutes ago, what I wanted to mention earlier, which was to your point about the Heat's slow start when LeBron first went to Miami. And we mentioned that they started 8-9 in those first 17.
8-9.
And it was
trying to fire Spo.
Your turn, my turn, right? With him and D Wade, and them trying to figure that out. So to your point about this year maybe kind of being a trial run for the Lakers, I think it's very similar, right? Because D Wade is not the on-ball creator or wasn't the on-ball creator that Luka is, but it's sort of similar in that way where it's two guys that are ball dominant. But if you want to look at this, the silver lining, or if you want to be optimistic about it from the Lakers perspective, we've just seen Luka do this, right? Because he's been able to do this with Kyrie.
That's a great point.
Year and change, where at first it was kind of my turn, your turn, and then towards the end of last season, they figured out how to be, at the time, the best offense in NBA history.
As good as Kyrie is, and I've sort of, my history of talking about, writing about Kyrie has been accurate, I would say, but more critical than not. Although obviously he's found the right fit, or had found the right fit for himself in Dallas. But I think I recognize he's obviously a great player. He doesn't create nearly the gravity Luka Doncic does. So I was just asked this by Joe Musso on CBS Sports HQ before we came on, Aaron. And he goes, I don't want to throw this question at you. And then he did, which I respect. And it is Luka Doncic.
I don't want to, but I am.
And I'll throw it to you, and I'll tell you what I said.
Okay.
And the question was, is Luka Doncic the most talented partner, teammate LeBron James ever had? And in the moment, I said yes. And having thought about it, I'm sure that it's yes. Because with all respect to Dwayne Wade, or if you want to throw in Chris Bosh, or Kyrie Irving, or Anthony Davis, nobody has ever created it's almost Steph-like in the gravity that Luka creates.
Yeah.
How much attention he requires and what he can do, and from how far from the basket he can do it. This is a different kind of teammate than LeBron has ever had.
So I was gonna mention that exactly, and put a little cheeky, to use a British phrase, a little cheeky semantics phrase here. He's the most talented or best teammate he's had outside of the Olympics. But what we just saw,
not the Olympics.
No, but it's to your point. What we just saw with how much LeBron can do with the space that other great players around him create. In this case, Steph and KD. LeBron was the MVP of the Olympics, largely because of the space that he had to operate, because he was playing with other great players.
It's a great insight.
So I think what you were asking earlier. Let me just break down the details. Of the deal.
Yep.
The Lakers receive Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. Keith back with the Lakers. The Mavs get Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 Lakers first. Now we haven't heard any comments or any reporting about the protections on it. Yeah, get more water. You're fisting the water.
I'm thirsty, bro.
Is that a Grogu mug? Did I see a Grogu?
Right, I got Grogu, and I got everybody watching. This is why you tuned in to Beyond the Arc. I got apparently I'm the Galaxy's best dad. Who knew?
I'm not on camera because I am not drinking water for this. So Doncic, Kleber, and Markieff Morris to the Lakers. AD, Max Christie, who is a loss. He was starting for the Lakers, and a 2029 Lakers first. And as I was just mentioning, we do not know about the protections on it. Usually, if there are protections, we would have heard about it by now, but that is not definitive. And then the Jazz get a couple seconds in Jalen Hood-Schifino for facilitating.
Another thing, and this is a small thing, but I think it's interesting. The perception on those two Lakers first round picks, right, that they were sort of should you or shouldn't you trade, was they would be super valuable, because once LeBron left, the Lakers might be awful, which is always probably it's kind of a bad bet, because the thinking goes the Lakers will attract talent, though in fairness, they haven't attracted that much free agent talent, since Shaq, if you actually break it down. But anyway, the first round pick that remains and the one they traded aren't, to your point about why did the Mavs get two, they're not as valuable. Luka's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean,
Abby Jackson, I am dehydrating, Abby. I am dehydrating.
They definitely should have gotten two, because they are less valuable. And I don't know if I should say this or not, but whatever. Here, I'm going to say it. Part of the difficulty in the Lakers negotiating with the Jazz for Walker Kessler, who has been a rumored target of the Lakers, was Danny Ainge's concern that Walker Kessler and AD together, even after LeBron, would have made the Lakers good enough so that the picks that the Lakers would have been sending to the Jazz and the pick that they already have from the Lakers would have been less valuable, because Walker Kessler and AD into the future, even after LeBron, would keep the Lakers good enough that those picks would not have been high lottery picks. So that feeds right into this. Like, if you have Luka Doncic, right? I don't know how much longer LeBron's going to play. Let's say a couple years.
2 years, right? That's my guess.
Yeah, and then Luka's 27, 28.
Yeah. And by the way, I'm sitting in LA. You're sitting in LA. LA is amazing. So you can play with Luka and come to LA. And this, can we just like, since the shit has hit the fan, and this is the craziest trade I can remember, can we just like say all the quiet stuff out loud? LeBron is amazing and he gets people chips, but he is not beloved and he is not always easy to play with, right? So there's kind of, it's like working for a great boss who's hard on you. I actually think Luka's going to be a bigger draw to play with than LeBron was in LA.
I mean, we saw it last season, right? With Clay, very specifically.
Deciding, poor Clay. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, Clay has not been good without Luka on the floor. He's struggled mightily since Luka's been injured. But we saw it is a direct A-B 1-to-1 comparison. Clay specifically chose. He's from LA, right? And his dad, Michael Thompson, is a great friend of mine. He's one of the best humans ever. But he does radio for the Lakers, and Clay chose to go play for the Mavs and go play with Luka, and decided, I don't want to play with LeBron. The Lakers were offering him more money, and he chose Dallas. Right. So I agree with you. I think Luka is going to be the draw here.
Do you we got two options. This is choose your own adventure. You ready?
Okay,
we can just call it a pod and we can pick it up tomorrow with John, or I've got some sort of rapid fire questions for you that I could do a quick break and I could throw them at you.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's keep it going. We got a lot of people in here. Everybody
Other people
wants
watching.
To talk about this. Let's keep it going.
Abby's watching. You're all watching me get dehydrated. That's cool. Not as dehydrated as Kyrie Irving right now. All right. I'm gonna present Aaron with some questions, including just sort of what is the prognosis, what is the best guess of what this means in this season, the next few seasons for Dallas and LA. So we're going to get into some specific, way too early, but this is too big not to do it anyway. Predictions in a moment next year on Beyond the Arc.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale. Ronaldo. Wonderful goal.
On the UEFA Champions League channel. Streaming free.
Welcome back into Beyond the Arc. It's an emergency pod edition. I am Bill Reiter. Investigate the Mavs GM. This is Basketball Terrorism. Hello from Derek B. Derek, so thank you for tuning in. I know I'm repeating myself. Those of you that have been watching for the whole time, my understanding, and this more information will come out about this in the next few days. My understanding of why the Mavs did this is because Luka Doncic and his representatives said to Dallas, I know you got us under contract this year and next year. We have a player option after that. Aaron, correct me if I get this wrong, but we're out of there here after that, and we're gonna go to LA. We're not gonna sign the Supermax, but we love being here. We want to lead the right way. So go find the best deal that you can when you can. Very similar to what's going on with De'Aaron Fox, I'm told, and wrote about this for CBSSports.com this week, and the Kings, and the Mavs were able to get AD. So yes, you're right. In a vacuum, investigate the Mavs GM for basketball terrorism. I think in the nuance and context of you're in a bad spot, not a bad return. John Gonzalez, my co-host, will be on with me tomorrow. Our plan, things are moving quickly, but I think our plan is 11 a.m. Eastern live pod. Yeah. We do a live pod every weekday. This is unusual because it's an unusual trade at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. out here. We're all in LA on the West Coast. So if you're watching now, please subscribe. Hit the stupid like button that we're supposed to hit. Right, it helps us. It's good. You can do it.
Do it. My like button.
5. No, the great like button. You're right. I'm sorry.
And we also you and John. We try to do one post game show.
That's true. A week.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah.
So we're
usually is about 7 o'clock Pacific, 10 Eastern.
We produce a lot of content. Hit the little alert button. You get to know all about it. Okay. So I got some rapid fire questions for you, Aaron. And if you think of any, you ask me. And by the way, the Lakers have been playing well. Mouse Rat 2019. Dallas sounds like me explaining to all my friends why I broke with the hottest girl I've ever dated. It really does. It really does. Yeah, it wasn't working out. She was a 10. I just wasn't into it. You know, I
had to let her go, man.
Yeah, she was just that is very funny, dude. All right. The Lakers have been playing well too lately. Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's
I think it is the most shocking. If you're watching live, you see this. If you're listening later, there's a Chiron up right now that says most shocking NBA trade in history. I think it is the most shocking NBA trade in my lifetime. I'm 46 in my sort of adult fandom going back to when I was, 7 years old. All right, first question. And this one is predicated on the idea that Luka Doncic is healthy this year, right?
Okay.
When he comes back, which is soon, he stays healthy.
Yeah, shortly after the All-Star break is the indication.
Yeah, it's not far. A couple weeks. Where do the Lakers finish in the West is the first question.
Where do they finish seeding, or where do they finish in the playoffs?
Start with seeding. I know. I'm asking you, are they better in the short term?
Yeah,
they're right now. They're fifth. It's very crowded. We know it's very
they're fifth, and they're like fourth, fifth,
game behind fourth.
Between them, Denver, and the Clips is pretty. It kind of feels like, one, OKC is just they're too far gone. It kind of feels like
3.5
Houston and Memphis are too far gone.
Yeah. They're 2.5 behind Houston and Memphis.
Yeah, I think fourth.
Sorry, 3.5.
I think fourth is the ceiling. Although I do think there are going to be some growing pains. So
I do too.
I'm going to say fifth. I'm kind of a cop out, but I'm going to say fifth.
I'm also going to. No, I don't think it's a cop out. I'm going to go fifth too. Here's the harder question.
I mean, it's a cop out because it's where they are presently.
Now, by the way, they're going to get, this is unprecedented. They're going to get 20 games, which at 20 to 25 is usually kind of the mark of what you need to sort of like figure each other out and figure what you have.
Yeah.
Sometimes more with new superstars, but like in
they're
general,
sort of basketball geniuses. So maybe
that's the thing.
Fast tracks it a little bit.
Yeah. And Luka Doncic, I was reminded of this earlier. Luka Doncic in, I don't remember, 2017, 18, 19, some point, talk about how LeBron was his idol growing up and he worshipped him and that's his idol. So
correct. He's
going to want to make it work. And we're 46 games in this. There's a lot of games to go. So all right. So my point is they have time to sort of figure each other out.
Yes.
Assuming that we're right, let's say we're right and they finish in the top 6. I know matchups matter here, but quick predictions on the spot. How far do they go in the playoffs?
So I was going to say my first thought was going to be, you know what? I'm still going to say this until they play either Denver or OKC.
So Memphis, they could beat Memphis.
I think they can beat Memphis, Houston, or the Clippers, or anybody behind. But the Lakers bug. I mean, the Lakers bugaboo was Denver and Joker, who's still the best player in the world. There's a little different swag with Luka in this.
Yeah, there is
match up completely, but the Lakers couldn't guard. The Lakers couldn't guard Joker with AD. So
that's something we should discuss tomorrow.
It's like Maxi Kleber or Jackson Hayes is like currently this Lakers starting center.
There is a defensive thing going on.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's a real thing. So you're going to say second round?
Depending on how the seeding works out. Like
I know the matchups matter.
4 or 5 Denver.
What's their legitimate ceiling? Yeah, what's their legitimate ceiling? I think it's still second round this year.
Their ceiling?
Legitimate, like in not.
I think the ceiling is winning the West. I think the ceiling is the finals.
Wow,
I don't expect it.
I mean, you're not. Let me correct myself. You're not wrong.
I mean,
because we've seen Luka carry
just
guys.
Went to the finals last year.
Yeah, and by the way, he's not carrying Kyrie, but I would rather have LeBron in a playoff run than Kyrie now. Is that crazy? I think with Luka, I think I would.
Yeah, although to be fair, after the trades that Dallas made last deadline. If we call Kyrie last year and LeBron this year a wash or close to a wash, I think Dallas had better supporting pieces than the Lakers do. Yep. Although the Lakers still have they didn't give up. Max was a starter.
No,
Max
they did.
was a starter, but it's going to be fascinating to see. And that perhaps that's why there's still another first round pick out there that the Lakers have, because it feels like they need to go get a starting center.
It's interesting because again, like it's a different timeline now. It's not just now. I mean, but you're right. There's all right. How many championships do LeBron and Luka make and or win? Finals appearances and victories. I'll go first. I'm gonna go on a limb.
Yeah.
They will make the NBA Finals. I'm gonna say 3-year timeline. This year, 3 seasons. This small season,
including this
truncated
one,
season,
2.5. Yeah.
Yeah, and then summer of 26, summer of 27. I think LeBron will play at least 42. I'm gonna say they go to win one. I'm gonna say they go to one. I think they're gonna go to one.
So if we set the line at 0.5, that's tough.
Over.
You're going to take
I
think I'm taking
the under.
I think I'm taking the under.
Rockets are going to be so good. The Thunder are so good.
But I will say this. I think Luka wins a title as a Laker. And I did not think Luka was going to win a title as a Maverick.
Yeah. And by the way, and an MVP. We can have this conversation.
Excellent point. Yes.
Part of the reason I think he wants to be a Laker is he's going to get the recognition, credit, votes, opportunity he deserves with his talent. Just to win an MVP.
To the LeBron and AD point, or the Steph and KD, or we've seen it a bunch of times. Once LeBron is not around anymore, Luka in Los Angeles. When you're dragging, a roster that the rest of the world doesn't think is that great to 51 wins in Los Angeles is very different than, I got Kyrie in them doing pretty well. So I think Luka wins an MVP in maybe 2 MVPs in Los Angeles.
100% with you. And then last one that I have, over under, so number of months when Kyrie forces his way out of Dallas.
That's a great one.
I mean,
was it 2 years and a player option he signed?
I need to look it up. I don't remember. That sounds right.
2 years and a player option. So this would be the first. I think this is the first year. So I think this time next year.
Yeah.
I think 9.5 months is Luka is somewhere else. I mean, Kyrie is somewhere else. Might that be the Lakers?
Oh man, I would love to be the guy who has to break that to Anthony Davis. That's all I got. I mean we can go long.
AD's from the area. He's from the area. That's the best I got for AD. And I like AD a lot, man. So that's the best I got for AD. Oh, somebody in the chat. Oh, this is an interesting one. What do you think about that?
Oh, that is interesting.
That makes some sense.
So, here's the problem. That if you're going to send Kyrie, if you're going to send Kyrie to San Antonio, it's the same reason that it's going slow between the Spurs and the Kings. By the way, this could totally screw up De'Aaron Fox's plans. What the Spurs have to offer are a ton of picks. And I'm assuming, I don't know, I haven't been able to do the reporting yet. This just happened, obviously. But what I'm assuming, Aaron, and everyone watching, is that if you just traded for Anthony Davis, that's because you're not willing to do a rebuild, right? You want to build around AD. So if you're going to get picks from San Antonio, you're going to have to be able to reroute them immediately and do a 3-way trade to bring in somebody now, right? It's not, the Spurs don't have anyone to offer that is a return, even in the aggregate.
Well, so before we go, what do you think about on the court? And you and John will get into this more in depth tomorrow morning. But what do you think about this from the Dallas side on the court? I mean, we saw before the Warriors and the Warriors and Lakers played on Saturday a week ago today. Actually, the big Saturday night game, and AD had to sit down with Shams and basically said, "I'm not a center." The same thing he's been saying for years. In Dallas, he's not going to be a center, right?
Media moment. You're out of here.
Yeah, right. He's not going to be a center, right? There's lively.
He's been complaining about this for years. I'm so over it.
By the way, his best position.
He is wrong.
Center. He's wrong.
It's not 1999.
What do you think this said? What do you think about Dallas for the rest of this season? I mean, Lively, Gafford, PJ, AD, Kyrie, Clay.
Good, not great. Not as good as the team that made the finals last year because they don't have Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
that's so. It's interesting because the thing about AD that I find fascinating, and it has defined his career, but now you can't hide this anymore the way you can when you play with LeBron. AD has never been good enough to be the best player on a championship team, even if he has been in some big games. He has never been the best player on that Lakers team, and he wasn't able in New Orleans to carry a team. He should be. And now he has to be. The Mavs aren't trading for Anthony Davis so he can be the second best player when they go and they land insert whoever. So it's a really interesting, how do you build a winning team? Let's say the Mavs can pull all the moves they have to. Let's say Kyrie does want to leave and you're able to, get value for him, which you would. And let's say the Mavs do it correctly. Mm-hmm. I don't even know what that looks like. How do you build a championship? I don't know if you can, Aaron. I don't know if I believe that about
I'm not sure you can either. And to your point earlier, the Lakers, before LeBron came as a free agent, the last free agent of note that the Lakers got was Shaq, which was, 20 years
long
before.
Time ago.
and had very public failed pursuits of Carmelo and LaMarcus Aldridge, et cetera.
LaMarcus Aldridge, the presentation.
Yeah. the two presentations. But to your point, that's been a thing with the Mavs also. Now, Mark Cuban seems to not be in charge anymore. I know that's kind of murky for me, but
yeah.
He seems to not be in charge. But that was very much a thing with Dallas, with all of their swings and misses going after guys. So yeah, to build a
that's true.
To build a
that was Cuban
in Dallas.
You're right.
I don't know.
Yeah, Cuban tore down that 2011 championship team.
Yeah, Tyson Chandler,
to like go get the players that never showed up.
Yeah,
and I'll say this too. And again, I understand. I've already told everybody watching that my understanding is the Mavericks were given a polite ultimatum. Here's an ultimatum, but you have some time. Go. We're leaving eventually. This is not when you trade away a generational talent, it rarely goes well. You
can't win. You do the best you can, right? You can't win when you trade Luka or when AD got traded to the Lakers.
AD, like even Chris Paul to a degree, right? Like in his time in New Orleans,
you do the best you can. You
the Spurs when they traded Kawhi until they got Wemby, there was no real hope of anything substantive in terms of like postseason success.
Yeah, that's what's going to happen. You just kind of wander in the wilderness until you try to get the next guy.
We're workshopping this. We're talking this through.
Yeah.
And we'll hit this with John tomorrow. It actually, that point that we're making now, as I think about it, and I didn't have to make these trades under duress like the Mavs, this is why you have to maybe just bite the bullet and do full, crazy, incredible rebuild. And you three-way trade this. And by the way, they still can. They could wake up tomorrow and ship AD somewhere and ship Kyrie somewhere.
Sure.
Right?
That's the Lakers could trade LeBron, of course, yeah. And
to whoever made the point, or maybe you made the point, Aaron, I think it was one of the people in the chat here on Beyond the Arc. Thanks for everybody hanging out. Please, if you're listening to the podcast, subscribe, like, and if you are watching on YouTube, push the little notifications button. John Gonzalez and I are live all the time, doing shows multiple times a week. Send Kyrie to San Antonio for all the picks. Ship out AD and just rebuild, because I don't think they're going to be what they were last year for a long time with Anthony Davis, which was obviously a championship level team because they made the NBA Finals.
Yeah, so this is like the fascinating thing, right? When you are forced to either trade out a generational guy or try to make trades for a generational guy to help a generational guy. When is the next time the Mavs are going to have somebody, right? So you go send out everything and you go get these picks and you start over. Makes sense. And Dallas is a big market. They've had trouble getting guys, but it's a big market.
Yeah.
And the state tax.
No state income tax. Right.
Excuse me. The state tax there. Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Real.
But
that's real.
You're trying to do all of that to hit on one draft pick that's 70% as good as Luka?
Well, I think respectfully, I think that paradigm's a little shifted. Sam Presti hits in almost all of his picks, but there's a model that Orlando has shown can work, that the Rockets have shown that can work. The Rockets are a better example. They don't have a superstar. They don't have a superstar yet.
No, correct.
But they've drafted well enough, developed well enough to have enough picks that they can, if they don't develop one, they can go get one, right? Like
that's fair.
There's a path. And I think Presti in Oklahoma City was smart enough to, when he brought in Shea, I think he knew with Shea what he had, but like when he drafted Chet, I'm sure he hoped he was going to be, and when he's healthy, what he is. I think he's a top 15 player, potentially higher.
Probably,
but if it didn't work, right, then they could have used a lot of these picks they accumulated and gone out and gotten somebody. So my point is, I hear you, but I think with what you can get for AD and to a lesser extent Kyrie, but not nothing, and even like Clay or whoever, I just think you could bring. But I think if you were to just completely tear down the Mavericks, you could have almost a Oklahoma City, Houston Rockets, Spurs level of draft capital.
Yeah, you process it. You process it.
You know,
we have 15 lottery picks over the next 7 years. We're going to hit on some of them.
Right. Now the thing is, how good is your GM? And that is not really tested in Dallas because they've obviously been drafting at a place in the draft that isn't, the likelihood of success is smaller because you're not drafted at the top of the draft. We know Sam Presti can draft at the top of the draft and hit it again and again and again. So that's another. You're right. There's a risk there. I think there's a risk. To your point, it's not to me that 70% is a misnomer. It's who's making the draft, who's making the call.
Yeah, absolutely.
GM's not going to fire himself. He's not going to say, "Hey, boss, I actually suck at this part, so like you should get
I'm
somebody
really bad
else."
At this. You should get rid of me.
Yeah, I'm bad.
One last thing. One last
hit
thing
me
before we go that I'm kind of interested in. Because you've been doing so much reporting on, well, not even this specifically, but in your reporting for various other things, you have had lots of conversations with people around the league about how the CBA is impacting this trade deadline and just kind of how teams are able to move in the new world, and how, frankly, a lot of teams don't have it entirely figured out yet, and how agents and players and the Players Association doesn't have it all figured out yet. What do you think of them revisiting the designated veteran exception, right? Because I think one of the unintended consequences of this is two things. One, teams don't necessarily, especially these small market, Dallas is not a small market team, but smaller market teams don't want to have to pay guys the whatever 30% or 35% of the cap it is. And then it also, maybe a year early, it seems in this case, if a guy tells you, and this is going to be the thing with Zion, it'll probably be a thing. If a guy tells you, I'm not going to sign it, and that is the small markets or the smaller markets only mechanism to try to keep their guy, I don't know. What do you think of the unintended consequences that's
It's
caused?
a great question. And it's really on the nose with Dallas, because in New Orleans, you could say, well, it hasn't worked and they haven't won. And I mean, Luka just came off an NBA Finals appearance, right? So it's not, you can't play the I'm leaving this small, or Dallas is a small market, but different, not one of the LA.
It's not one of the glamour markets of the NBA.
Glamour market, right?
Yeah.
It's a good question. And here's the thing. You're not wrong, except it's working in Oklahoma City, right? Shea doesn't want to leave. Chet doesn't. None of those guys like being there. And you see this when they're doing post-game interviews and they all come around, whoever the reporter is. And so I don't know. I mean, maybe
it got DeMarcus Cousins out of Sacramento, because Sacramento was like, because the expectation is if you qualify for it, where do you have to give it to?
It's a good question. The thing is, Luka loved LeBron, and Luka wasn't able. You have to be able to deliver for your stars what they crave. And I'm speculating here, but my guess is Luka probably craved. Luka's never. I mean, he's never really come close to an MVP. I vote for that award, and I'm trying to think if I've ever put him in the top two. I don't know that I have.
I don't think he's finished top two.
I don't think so either.
I think he's been first team All NBA the last 4 or 5 years.
Right.
I don't think he's ever been top two in the MVP.
He's never come close to an MVP, even though he's obviously a top 4 or 5 player minimum every year. And so I know we said this later. That's not if your goal is to win an MVP, that hasn't been delivered. Do you know who's going to be delivered for maybe this year? Is Shea. Mm-hmm. So the market isn't limited. So I don't know how you riddle that out if you're the Mavericks. Maybe the answer is you have to build you have no margin for error if you're in a non-glamour market, and even less margin for error if you're in, Sacramento or Cleveland or Oklahoma City. Or, by the way, the Cavs are not a glamour market.
They're not.
And you know this, and I like Cleveland. My wife's from Ohio, but
Cleveland is the second worst city in the NBA.
And Donovan McNabb, I know we've had to talk. Maybe Donovan McNabb. I was just texting Donovan McNabb.
Maybe him too.
Donovan McNabb's my guy. I'm trying to get him on the radio.
Ida Mitchell and
Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah,
he just resigned. He just re-upped, right? So
yeah, he did.
I think that the NBA's goal is working to give more power and leverage to smaller and non-glamorous markets to keep guys. It's never going to be 100%. And I think that this is going to sound counterintuitive because they just made the finals, Luka hasn't gotten a shine. Let me give you something else. Let my Kyrie hatred come out a little bit. And I'm sorry because I kind of bonded. I kind of bonded with Kyrie's people like a year. I wrote a column a year or two ago going at Kyrie.
It was excellent.
And they reached out. I had to fly to New York and have some dinners. And look, people can be misunderstood and they can still be wrong, right? I'm not here to judge every human being forever. I miss you, AD, for Lakers, and also Chris. Yeah, Chrissy, I hear you, Marilyn. I used to joke, but I wasn't joking. How long would it be before Luka didn't want to be around Kyrie? I don't know anything. I have no reporting. But James Harden couldn't stand Kyrie after the burning of the incense. And I don't care what people tell you. I'm telling you, this is reporting.
Not incense.
The guys in Boston didn't want him there.
Correct.
Mostly.
Yes.
So it's like he does wear guys out. Absolutely. I don't have the answer, but I'll be interested if somebody else can get the reporting. I'll try, but I don't know that I will because Kyrie's people get mad at me and it's hard to get the info now. I don't know that the Kyrie factor is nothing. I'm not sure it's 0%.
To answer the previous question, obviously Luka in 18-19 won Rookie of the Year, and then before this season he has played 5 other seasons in the NBA. So this is his 7th season. In the last 5 seasons, he has been first team All NBA and finished 4th, 6th, 5th, 8th, and 3rd last year.
Tell me that again. I'm gonna put that in I have to write a column after this, so I need that information.
Oh yeah, let me repeat it so you can write it down.
Yeah.
So starting with 1920 till last season, he was All NBA first team all 5 years, and he was 4th in 1920, 6th in 2021, 5th in 21-22, 8th in 22-23. And 3rd last year.
That was my memory that he's never come. And last year he was 3rd, but he was never in the picture, right? It wasn't. Correct. There was no world. He's never. And he will. You said
he was the betting favorite going into this year. I believe he was the.
He's been the betting favorite. I'll look this up later. I would bet a significant amount of your money, Aaron, and some of mine, that he has been the betting favorite 2 of the last 3 or 3 of the last 3 years. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's correct.
Yeah, because
and has played well and made the finals.
Yeah, he had a slow start to this season, but then once he got himself in shape to the match.
Oh, that's always
Nico Harris's point. We'll see, but once he got himself in shape, he looked pretty good.
Our 5-minute podcast, Emergency Pod, went 51 minutes and 38 seconds so far.
Yeah,
you're gonna be on the air.
We're hanging out.
It's a lot.
It is. It is a lot. There's a lot to break down, and there's still a lot for you and John to break down tomorrow. And 100%. Thank you so much to everybody for coming to hang out with us.
Thanks, y'all. Thanks for noticing my dehydration. Who was that? Abby? Appreciate your concern.
Hold on. You know what? I'm gonna find that again. We're not allowed to stop this until I put that comment up again one more time. I think it was.
I needed the water. I
think it was.
I think it was. The news shocked all the hydration out of my body when it. I saw it and I was in the kitchen, right? I was just like, all right. I was like, today's the only day I'm gonna have off for the next month. Bill be dehydrating, LOL. Abby Jackson, you ain't wrong. You're not.
I thought, you know what? I had me a little nice. A little nice Saturday night. I was cooking.
I haven't started drinking yet. And then it's a miracle that
you and I both have the busiest days in human history tomorrow. And we're just gonna add something. We're just Hey, the NBA never stops.
All right. It's Beyond the Arc. I'm Bill Reiter. You've been listening also to producer Aaron. John Gonzalez is here all the time. We are often 4 or 5 days a week on live during the weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. We also do post-game shows. What are we doing, Aaron? We're doing Wednesday this week or Tuesday? Please drink water, Robert Smith.
No, I think
I got you, Robert.
It is Tuesday. Yeah,
Tuesday. We're doing some good.
But we're doing
Cavs Celtics post game.
Cavs Celtics. So correct. Yep. So
John and I
and Eastern.
So come check that out. Please, if you just found us, please subscribe to the podcast, like it, give it a 5-star review. Find that little alert button on YouTube to let you know what's going on.
Yep. Subscribe to us on YouTube.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Beyond the Arc CBS is the YouTube page.
Don't make me go on a water strike, like a hunger strike. Yeah, check it. All right. I got to go write a column for CBSSports.com. Thank you for hanging out. Many of you did, it looks like, for almost an hour. Extremely cool. We appreciate you. AD is a Mav. Luka's a Laker. Life is crazy. And we'll be back, I think, tomorrow doing this again. Thanks for hanging out with us.